Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm your host for today's episode. I'm a bilingual neurolinguistic programming and cognitive behavior psychotherapist specializing in anger management issues, both court-appointed and private, marriage counseling using the EFT method, dissociative disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, depression, anxiety, dream analysis, and also provide life, business, and retirement coaching support. I provide individual one-on-one sessions in both French or English, and also do group settings. If you need any assistance, reach out to DMV Therapy and Coaching Services at 301-325-1550, and our website can be found at lifecoachdanamzalak.com. Today, I'm very excited to have for our second episode of season 18, a very special guest and author of It Really Is Simple, a holistic approach to self-confidence, Alexandra Dotcheva. And just like every of my past episodes, I leave it up to the guests to properly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job. Alexandra, the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Dan. Such a pleasure to be here and meet your listeners and audience. Yes, my name is Alexandra Dotcheva. I am a former violinist. I was a violinist for 29 years, and then I became a registered nurse. I've been in that field for 12 years already. And then because of circumstances and economic and conditions, I also ventured into real estate investing, which I have been doing for almost a decade, 9 years to be precise, along with my nursing career. And so because of all the issues I had to resolve along the way to where I am today, friends and loved ones and some colleagues suggested that I actually put my experience and system into writing. So that's how the book emerged in the late 2021. It was published. It Really Is Simple, a holistic approach to self-confidence with the goal to help others overcome any self-imposed limitations, any false sense of entitlement, because I suffered from all these and lack of self-esteem and lack of self-confidence. Oh, and I apologize if you hear the airplane. We are close to an Air Force base, and if you hear airplanes, that's sometimes the case. But yes, so in a nutshell, that's about me, and I'm excited to be a holistic confidence coach today and helping people overcome anything they would like to overcome in terms of health, financial issues, career issues, relationship issues, and even spirituality-based issues, because everything is so connected in life, as you know. So that's my mission today.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Alexandra, for being here today. Like I said, I think your knowledge and expertise will definitely enlighten all of our listeners. And this is what the happiness journey is all about. So let's get started with, first of all, how long did it take you to be able to write the book? What really inspired you beside your own personal experiences and your limiting belief and your self-confidence? What really brought you to formulate this book and using the term holistic? Why did you feel that you had to add the term holistic to it?
Great question. Thank you for asking. So the book came, the idea came in early 2020 when the COVID pandemic started, and my father had passed away a month before that. He was another airplane. But the term holistic, I figured that I had arranged my life in a similar way within my health realm, my spirituality realm, career, finances, and relationship realms. And it was all the same system for all these 5 aspects. And I also figured that many times when people hear the term holistic, they really only focus on their health and poorly at that, because they really like to use the holistic aspect to excuse certain habits that they really shouldn't be having in their health. But as far as I'm concerned, if you don't have the proper financial base and education and knowledge to handle your career properly so you can invest in your health and in your future, to have these financial choices that would allow you to take excellent care of your health in terms of nutrition, fitness, and detox, and then how to use your career to be able to separate the quality of your work in terms of helping other people and being useful to society, and then building your investment base with assets that cash flow unrelatedly to your job. So you can have all these other choices. And then the relationship choices that you make based on your health goals and financial goals. This is all one thing, and it's called life. And that is the holistic approach to self-confidence when you master these 5 fields on your own terms and you keep developing them and elevating them while you live. So this is how holistic came into the picture. As far as how long it took to write the book, well, that's a very funny question because I'm a foreigner, obviously. I come from Bulgaria, and I decided to write a book in English because much as I don't have a very rich English vocabulary, my Bulgarian vocabulary has gotten poorer and poorer over the years, even though I still speak Bulgarian without an accent, but that doesn't matter. Vocabulary base is extremely important when you're writing, and I don't consider myself by any stretch of the imagination a professional writer. The book's purpose was to help people, not to be some master literary piece, but practical guide. This is what the subtitle of the book is, a practical guide. So the idea came immediately with the structure of the 5 life aspects, and I wrote it in 6 months, Dr. Dan, but then it took about 40 readings within the next year to edit it as many times as I deemed necessary before I even offered it to a professional editor, the editor of my publisher. So I knew what needed to be done, and it took me some time, but I persevered because I was dead set to get this thing published and help other people overcome the things that I struggled with for over 20 years. And that was the motivation. That's what kept me going, because when you edit your own writing, it sometimes can be pretty frustrating. You keep finding things that can be better and better and better. And finally, after the 30th or 35th reading, it was close to 40. It was really a lengthy process. I said, okay, I can't add anything more. Somebody needs to see it now professionally. And it was great that I went through all these reviews, because it just saves time with the publisher and everything. And then the process went very smoothly from then on.
So when you create the skeleton of the book, or the format and all, did you know exactly how long the book was going to be from the beginning? Or did you set yourself, okay, I'm not going to go over 300 pages, or I'm not going to go over a certain amount of information, because you wanted to write a sequel to that book? Did you already thought about all that when you first started writing the first page?
No, I didn't want to write a sequel to that book, because I know people who write 9, 10, 11, 12 books, and they basically repeat themselves all the time. It's called a graphomania. And I don't want to be that type of person. I will tell you everything I know in one piece. Yes, it's close to 400 pages, but that's what it came out to be. And some of the ideas are presented in several places in slightly different words, because I have found that this is what has helped me very much over the years to internalize an idea that's helping my well-being, not only intellectually, but also emotionally. Sometimes you need to hear things said in a slightly different way, or a very different way. So that was the only purpose for certain repetitions. And I have warned the reader in this right from the get-go in the introduction. I'm very honest. And so, no, there was never an idea for a sequel. I still don't intend to write a sequel to the book. And when I started the coaching business, in fact, that was encouraged by colleagues and mentees. I had mentored people quite a bit before that. And then several podcast hosts said, you really need to develop a coaching business around this book. So, and I tell people, you get the book first, because that is the least expensive way to do these things. And if you follow 80% of what's in the book, you will not need my coaching. You really won't need my coaching and spending all this other money. And that's how I chose many of my coaches, like in real estate investing, for example. I had no clue about investing at all until I chose my coach, Robert Kiyosaki. But before I paid for his online courses, I read 7 of his books, okay, to gain confidence and so that he could gain my trust. Because when you're spending money on a coach, you need to know who you're hiring, in my opinion, right? But again, I don't intend to write any more books right now, because you need to offer something different to people if you're writing. I have a blog that's freely accessed through my website. But yeah, the book is just really the system that I'm using, and I have been using successfully for 15 years now. And it works. That is the book I wish I could have read 15 years ago.
Yes, so it's good that you at least took the initiative, Alexandra, to be able to formulate it in a way that is easy to understand. Because again, nowadays people don't have time to do anything. We're so busy, we're swamped with so many responsibility, that we don't even have time to sit down and actually read anything. So if you concise the information in a way that people can actually digest it, understand it, and implement it, then you've won the desire of your readers. And that's what's really most important. Because like just looking behind you with all the books that you have on your shelves, just imagine how many people read or write books about similar topics. But yet, if you know how to capture the attention of your readers, then you've met that goal. And this is what it's all about, to be able to get them to be interested in just not reading and then closing the book and putting it to a shelf, but actually implementing everything that they understood from that book. So that's actually something that is great. So let's go back a little bit into the beginning of the podcast when you spoke something about entitlement, okay? Do you cover a specific chapter about that book? That because in my mind, Alexandra, tell me if I'm right or wrong, when someone has an entitlement mentality, they feel like the world owes them something. This is what the new generation that we have right now, the millennials or the Generation Z or whatever they call this generation, but they always feel that, oh, well, I'm me and people have to bend backward and forward for me, etc. So, but then when you have a self-confidence issue, aren't they those two, entitlement personality and self-confidence, are polar opposite to each other? Because if you're entitled, you don't have a problem self-confidence, and vice versa. So how do you explain the I would say disparity between both, or the paradox, if we would call it?
Sure. Entitlement and self-confidence can be confused for the same thing, because when you're entitled, like you said, you think the world owes you something and you're confident that you will get it without necessarily having any results to back your skills or abilities up, right? With confidence, however, you should be based on results. And your confidence, to me, is the absolute belief in yourself that you will solve whatever problem life throws your way, but you will solve it responsibly, and you first and foremost hold yourself responsible for solving that problem. You may ask for help and knowledge from people respectfully, but it is ultimately your responsibility to solve your problem, and that's what builds self-confidence. So that's not entitlement, because you're not expecting everybody else to solve your problems. And as far as the current generations, I don't think it's entitlement is necessarily only attributive to them, because entitlement has been the case ever since humanity has been the case. Every generation has felt entitled at some point, and then they quickly realize, some of them faster than others, that nobody owes you anything, right? But see, I can give you an example. I covered entitlement to an extent in chapter 1 in relation to my own life experience when I was young, because see, I came from a poor country. I'm Bulgarian, and Bulgaria was really, it's always been treated like the backyard of Europe, basically. And when I came to the States, for whatever reason, I thought that the rich, the wealthy, should be helping us and giving us their money and all that, because see, the poor people are entitled to the money of the rich. And it took me a while to learn that was really not the case, for a variety of reasons, good or bad reasons. But I also have had entitlement thoughts for several years in my life, and I'm the first one to admit it. So once I realized it was truly unfounded and there was no basis for it, and that I was ultimately responsible to solve all of my problems, of which 90% were self-inflicted to top it all, right? Things changed, and my perspective changed, and my responsibilities changed. It was not easy to reverse my life in the way to achieve what I wanted. Like I said, it took about 5 years for the good reversal, and then 5 more years to see the results after I made the decision to take my life into my own hands.
I see.
So entitlement is not only typical for today's young people. I think that will be cruel to say that. We all have been through that to some extent. And I the other thing is, my mother used to say, if I start getting bothered with the young people, that means I'm getting old really fast. So I also, to an extent, agree with that. But yes, there is a lot of entitlement everywhere, as it has always been. And it's a matter of just pointing to people, look, the sooner you realize that nobody owes you anything, that nobody really cares about you, unless you are useful to society in some way or another, you will have a very hard life in this society.
Absolutely. But then again, when we look at your case versus others, you came from, like you said, a poor country. And when you came here, it was a culture shock, because obviously it was not following the same culture as Bulgaria. Well, those who have this entitlement personality, because they're raised in I would say maybe in a very wealthy environment, and they've been given everything in their life without them putting too much effort into it. So that also changed their mindset, their perspective into figuring out what is normal and what is not. And because of that, it creates a different kind of matrix in their mind that pushes them to believe that because I was raised in an environment that everything was given to me. I had maid, I have people cleaning my room, doing this, giving me money whenever I wanted. So that indirectly creates that kind of sense. And it's not because, yes, you came from another country, so you thought that this is how it works, but they're born inside the US, or they're born in an environment that is completely, I would say, out of their perspective, come to think of it. So each case by case is different. Obviously, that I would
exactly different type of entitlement.
That's correct, exactly, or different time of like it's maybe polar opposite to each other. What you saw as being entitled and what they see as being entitled. But then again, you took the time to realize that this is not how things are run, especially here in this country. So when it comes to also, do you cover anything about limiting beliefs? Because limiting beliefs has also a direct impact on your self-confidence. If you feel that you're not worthy enough, that will affect your self-confidence long-term.
Well, absolutely. That's what the book is all about, self-limiting beliefs. Because I subjected myself to this since age 11 through my early 30s, and I saw the consequences. I paid a bad price for it. And this is what really the book is all about. That's the main idea, the self-limiting beliefs, self-imposed limiting beliefs, and then the ones imposed by the environment. But once you stop using the environment or your so-called unique situation as an excuse not to change your life, then things will really change in your favor with the necessary perseverance, responsibility, resilience, and really you build character that way, and self-esteem and self-confidence. But the limiting beliefs are the basis for pretty much all the problems that I had for a very long time, and eventually led to my early midlife crisis when I was 32, and I understood I had to change professions responsibly. Otherwise, I will be poor all my life and unfulfilled. And the complexes I had as far as professionalism went, they had to dissolve with the new profession, with the nursing. It was very, very tough because I went into music at age 6 because both of my parents were musicians. And by age 29, 30, you're expected to be a pretty well-rounded professional. I was a decent musician, very decent musician, but not competitive enough to survive an economic situation where after 2006, orchestras in this country started going under and bankrupting and dissolving. And then your competition just raises exponentially on the market. And that's what I had to face. And after having practiced something for 26 years, most people think of retirement. I didn't even have a full-time job at the time. And that sense of entitlement, okay, see, I put all these 7 to 9 hours a day for decades in the practice room, and I'm still not where I want to be professionally. That's what kills you. And then you contemplate a different profession like nursing, and they say, oh yeah, 3 years of college and you'll be a nurse. Like, really? I practiced 26 years the violin. I'm not really the violinist I want to be yet. And I'm going to be a professional nurse in 3 or 4 years. Impossible. So that was a self-limiting belief based on my experience with music. Okay. Dramatically different field. So, and you really don't become a nurse in 3 years after you finish nursing school. You become a nurse 10 years after you practice. However, you can realistically practice the profession with good supervision and guidance safely and responsibly. It's just so different. But that was one self-limiting belief. And then with the investing, in my experience, right, that was another thing. I said I could never possibly invest real estate and rent it and have 3 businesses like I do have now. And because I knew nothing about finances. But once I changed my profession from music to nursing, I realized I did this once, I can do it again. And I was not going to leave nursing, but just add the real estate investing skill to my nursing skills. So that was a double responsibility task, which I already put on myself just to challenge myself a little more. But again, that willingness comes with time, with some results that you can measure and affirm. And that's where you build the understanding that if you did that, you can do much, much more with your life.
I agree. But when you were thinking about you've practiced for so many years, you've worked in the music and doing this every single day, 9 hours a day, and then you felt that you didn't reach your level of professionalism in that field. Did you start doubting that if I start something else later, then again, that may repeat itself?
Very much so. Yeah, that was part of the limiting belief because I was so entrenched in music and my very insufficient knowledge about any of the rest of the world because I spent 12 years in specialized music school from the first to the 12th grade, then 11 more years in college as a specialized music student. So I had no science base, Dr. Dan, whatsoever.
Okay.
So it was not just the realization that I may not, it may end up the same way, but also that how do I even start? But when the reality of the economical situation in America hit all these orchestras,
Yes.
it was a very difficult week when I said, okay, I'm going to go to nursing school because they only require 3 years of school and not 11 years in college, and I can have a job that's in demand anywhere in the world, everywhere. I will have a job, but I will have to apply myself really. And I was tired at that time because I was 32. I had been 11 years in college. In 2007, I defended my doctoral monograph. So I was a doctor of musical arts in 2007. And in 2008 is when all this hit me. And I spent a week in complete brain vacuum on the stage playing with the Syracuse Symphony Orchestra. Nothing made sense at that point anymore. It's like a horrible, horrible rock bottom thing, but there is no bottom actually. You just keep falling and you're going through the motions, but nothing makes sense. So this was a big transformational experience, highly depressing at the time, and eye-opening and humbling and everything that you don't want to encounter all at once. But I decided that I was not going to fail this time because there was no choice. My parents were across the ocean. I was financially responsible for myself. And I said, I'm not going to be poor in this life, period, whatever that takes. And that's what made it. That's what did it.
Beautiful. And so when it comes to the book itself, Alexandra, for all of our listeners that are listening now to the podcast, what would you not just recommend, but advise them to do when it comes? You suggested something in the beginning, but before they get a coach, they have to read basically the book that the coach wrote to be able to better understand the nature of the coach, what kind of teaching they offer. So in your case, when it comes to those reading the book that you wrote, what is the end result that they should expect after implementing the advice that you give in that book? Or how long will it take them to see changes?
Thank you for asking that. This, Dr. Dan. It entirely depends on their level of determination and their understanding of the healthcare system, the financial system, and the way relationships work. So at the end of the book, when they read it a couple of times, they should fully expect to be knowledgeable of a diet that is unassociated in any way with the profitable chronic conditions that kill Americans today, left and right, and plague America, to the benefit of the healthcare system and pharmaceutical industry. So I am a whole foods organic vegan, Dr. Dan. I have been that way for 6 years already. And before that, for 17 years, I was half vegetarian. Okay. So vegan for the last 6 years, no compromises, no excuses, no exceptions, and detox every day, fitness every day, at least 4 to 5 days a week for a minimum of 2 hours a day. But that's your minimum, okay? So this is what they can learn as far as health and methods for detoxing their bodies on a daily basis to keep their immune system strong, their energy levels very strong, and clean their bodies from the inside, just like they do on the outside by taking a shower, right? Detox is the same idea, but on the inside of the body. As far as finances, there are plenty of ideas about investing and how you can make your saved money. First of all, how you get rid of credit card debt if you have that to enhance your buying power, how you discipline yourself with your financial habits, and then you accumulate money for investments and what to expect with the investments. If you can manage them yourself, great. If you need managers, I've explained all that, again, through my own lens of personal experience. And from there on, it's very easy with the career, how seriously you take your career, what you want to learn from your career in terms of people helping skills and marketable skills. Okay. And then with all these finances that you do with beautifully applying yourself with your work ethic and everything with your job, how you can expand your financial base and have choices to work or not to work, or to start your own business and not to do business. Whichever way you do, you can go for the wrong reasons in any employment position or in any business position. But if you have the right reasons for your own goals and values and dreams, if you wish, for your life, then you'll be golden also with your investments, but you need to have that structure. Okay, so this is the financial aspect of the book. And then the end of the book offers confidence enhancing exercises and lifelong learning ideas, but the relationship part is just as integral to your holistic confidence success, because the people you hang around can either waste your time or give you the wrong advice or degrade you, or they can elevate you, they can give you advice, they can be mentors, they can be excellent coaches, not necessarily friends, but people who will teach you how to grow and how to hold yourself accountable at all times. And these are the relationships that you really want to spend time on, instead of going drinking coffees with friends and gossip on some non-friends for 2 hours a day. Because people waste a lot of time with really doing things that they shouldn't be doing if they think that they won't accomplish anything. And you said, well, people don't have even time to read. Well, that's because of really poor time prioritization. And that's one of the things I start my mentees, my coaching clients, really with time management. I make them write a time sheet for the 2 weeks that I won't see them. What exactly did you do 24 hours? I give them that table and they have to fill it out to the best of their ability. And then we talk about it, because a lot of it, if they're honest, it really can be discarded from their day, and they give 3, 4, 5 hours all of a sudden, lo and behold, for growth activities.
Almost a journal.
It is like a journal, but it's more like a table that, and then I request this for the remaining of the 3-month program. It's a 12-month program. So they have to fill this timesheet every time they come to see me, and I see them every week. Okay. So, so there is a lot of accountability there, and they don't like that. I said, look, I'm not your friend. I'm telling you here that this can go. Get rid of that.
Now to just before we finalize this podcast, those who actually have one of the most common problem that people don't take the step forward is the fear of failure. Does this book cover that? I mean, just to abbreviate what you're going to say, because like I said, people are afraid to take that step forward because they're afraid more of the failure and how people will perceive them. So what do you suggest about that?
I tell people that the fear of failure is basically you're afraid of your own habits. And you're afraid that you will hate yourself even more if you fail, because you know that you can be lazy, and you're afraid that you won't be able to reverse that habit. And that has nothing to do with your people who surround you, because they're not responsible for your thought process.
Mm-hmm. I see. And so overall, with this podcast, Alexandra, what are the just last few words of wisdom that you'd like to give to our listeners?
Well, don't waste your time in unnecessary thoughts. Practice mind control, practice meditation. Look, if you wish to the Silva mind control method, that's another great way to refocus your mind and reestablish goals and be truly truthful to what you want. And you have to sit down with yourself and create real goals, not the goals of your friends and family members for you, or somebody who has to approve or disapprove of them. But what you really want is what you have to sit down. It takes several days to find out. It's one of the hardest things to do, is to set your own goals. Mm-hmm. That's what I would say. And the sooner you do this, and you might go through a reevaluation process every week or so, but for the next couple of months, you can definitely work on that, because many people succumb to the understanding that the goals are what the environment sets for them. And that's really another way to avoid responsibility, I think. And it's just sad to see. Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%. But Alexandra, on that note, that is all the time that we have for today's podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. And thank you again for participating and inspiring our many listeners with your incredible story. Now, we hope that you've all enjoyed today's episode. And I'm also very excited about the many upcoming guests that we have scheduled for season 18 of the Happiness Journey podcast, filled with inspirational stories just like the one that you listened today. Now, here are some concluding words of wisdom. Holistic self-confidence is a guiding light to success and fulfillment in all aspects of life. Believe in yourself for incredible benefits. With self-confidence, you conquer challenges and attract opportunities. It forms a foundation for meaningful relationship and fuels ambition. Set audacious goals with unwavering determination. It's not just about outer success, it's inner peace. Embrace imperfection and inspire others with self-love. Embrace self-confidence, your secret to a future of success, happiness, and endless possibilities. You're more powerful than you think. My name is Dr. Dan Amzalag, and you may all keep pursuing your amazing journey in life.